Hi everyone and welcome back to Europify. From the thumbnail you must have already understood what today's video is about. It's about my experience in getting a German driving license. Back in May last year, I had made a separate video about the whole process of exchanging a foreign driving license, especially Indian driving license, with a German one. If you haven't watched that video, I'll link it somewhere here. But in this video, we'll talk about how the process went for me, how was my experience with the theory test and subsequently with the practical classes and test, and some tips and tricks to save some expenses and get your driving license as early as possible. When I had done that video, I had just enrolled with a driving school in my city with an English driving course. The next step for me was to appear the theory test, and after you pass the test, the driving school will initiate your simulator sessions and subsequently the practical driving lessons. So throwback to June 2021, I planned to go through all the materials that I had this English book with all the rules and regulations and all the theory questions possible. So after doing that, I plan to go through the Fahren Lernen app and do all those 1100 plus questions and read through all the cues, the tips, everything. And then and there was my first mistake. So what I should have done is first book the theory test, keeping an estimate in mind, how long it's gonna take me to complete all these and plan accordingly. I gave it almost around a month of time to just go through these materials little by little every day, and that took the whole of June. And then in July I tried to book the theory test and there was no dates possible. So I reached out to my driving school and they told me that the nearest possible is August last week. So don't plan the way I did. First have a date in mind and as per your estimate how long it will take for you to prepare completely, and then commit to it to complete the questions, the materials, everything little by little every day. And the other problem is if you do it continuously for a number of days and then you leave a gap, then when you pick it up again you forget everything. I mean, may not be the logical questions, but there are also some calculation based questions which I bet you won't remember if you give a break of a week or two. So yeah, plan accordingly. Anyway, in the last week of August 2021, I appeared the theory test and passed it in the first attempt with full marks. So if you prepare well and very close to your theory test, it's not that difficult to pass. So after that, the next step was to contact the driving school again to progress with the steps of simulator classes and then the practical sessions. So the earliest I could get is around September last week for my simulator sessions. So I had 6 simulator sessions in my package. But after I did 4 simulator sessions, my instructor saw my results in the simulator and she was quite happy with my performance, and she said you need not complete everything and we can move further to the practical driving lesson. So yeah, if you perform well in your simulator session, you can also save some money that is dedicated to the simulator sessions. So fast forward to 3rd week of September, my practical lesson started. So in my package, I had around 10 or 11 classes for practical lessons because I already had one Indian driving license and I was exchanging it for German driving license. So you need not go through those 30-40 hours mandatory lessons, and you can just do lesser time. So all of that was completed, all the different maneuvers, the parking, autobahn lessons, outside of city lessons, everything was done and dusted. And then on, I believe, 15th of October, I had my first practical lesson. So in today's time, the practical driving lesson is for 55 minutes. And your instructor will be sitting beside you, your instructor from your own driving school, and the examiner from DECRA or whatever authority will sit in the back seat, and he or she will be observing your actions, your maneuvers, everything, and will be noting it down in an app. They have a specified app and they share those results after the test. So yeah, the examiner came, he sat behind, and yeah, he asked me a couple of questions, and then we started off. So it must be 10 or 15 minutes into the test, and we came out of a narrower road, and then, you know, joined another road, and there was one more lane that was coming, you know, a little further, and no other vehicle was coming from there, but there was not my priority to go because of the right before left rule, and I did not slow down or, you know, looked thoroughly there, and that's it. I was failed then and there. So even though there is no one coming from the right, you have to show the examiner and your instructor that you are aware that you don't have the right of way here. So you have to slow down, you have to look everywhere, do the blind side check, and then proceed. If you don't show all these things, you're done there. So that was my first attempt. Then normally after 15 days you can reappear, but in my city I could not get immediately after 15 days. So around 1 month after my first attempt, the second attempt was scheduled by the driving school again. And at this point of time, I had taken almost 11 or 12 classes, but in between these first and second attempts, I spoke with my driving instructor and I scheduled some more, you know, driving lessons to further strengthen my skills. So I, you know, asked my instructor to only focus on like the priority stuff, and also some additional classes. So I took all those, and then my second attempt was scheduled in mid of November. This time again the same, the examiner came, we went through the like the theory questions, we started driving. It lasted more than 15-20 minutes this time, but there was this really you know, confusing turn where it was clearly not visible which way is you know, the right side to go, and I got a little confused there, even though I was you know, saying it aloud that okay, I have to turn right from here, and I also you know, started my right indicator and everything, but I didn't realize that I had already gone a little into the intersection. And then my instructor held my steering wheel, and that's done. So for any reason, if your instructor, you know, holds your steering wheel, that means you're not in control and you're failed then and there. So that was my second attempt. So yeah, at that time, as it is quite natural, I felt so lost. I mean, I could not concentrate on anything else, not on work, not on my day-to-day chores, nothing. You just feel, you know, so helpless and so, you know, inconfident. At that time, you know, I was already starting to feel like, is it not my cup of tea after all? I contacted my driving school to schedule it yet again, the third attempt. And that was scheduled in December mid, around December 12th or 13th. I don't recall the date, but yeah, almost after, you know, 1 month. And at that time, the cost was also, you know, piling up because each driving test used to cost somewhere between 350 to 400 euro, along with the instructor, I mean, the driving school's cost, plus the DECRA fees. And there is also a warm-up session that happens before your exam. So all of that summing up, it used to cost me around 360 till 400 euros. So I thought to myself, let's, you know, stop calculating the expense because that's going to mess with your head even more. So yeah, on the day of my third attempt, again, we started with the theory questions, but then, you know, this time the theory questions were not that smooth compared to the previous 2 times. So the examiner asked me something that I was not, very comfortable with, probably because we never discussed it during my driving lessons before. So I was taken aback a little, and with all that nervousness and with the previous 2 failed attempts, the pressure was piling up, of course, and I was getting so nervous, my legs started shaking. It was so out of my control. I was realizing it's because of nervousness, but yeah, that's how I behaved naturally. But again, I somehow answered that. I showed whatever he asked me to, and then we started off driving. This time a little more, and yeah, I did everything okay. There was one this umkehren, it's in German, so where you have to like turn in the opposite direction in a smaller street and then go back in the same way you came from. So I was doing that, and there was a smaller mistake, but the examiner let me proceed through. But then again, in a outside city road where you're supposed to like drive with almost 100 kilometers, and then we were approaching a newer city, and then this 50 speed limit was there, and also there was a intersection just a little further where I had the priority. And that intersection was actually a little confusing, at least from my perspective, because there was this priority sign on my side, and just beside that there was this give priority sign as well. With the nervousness that was piling up from my theory incident, I was in the back of my head, I was still remembering that, and in that instance, I somehow did not notice in my subconscious, I unconsciously dropped my speed from around 52 to around, let's say, 42, 43. Then the examiner stopped me there, and he was like, you didn't realize that you have, priority here. And if you do this in real life, then someone who is coming from behind, they'll hit you because they expect you to go further with the normal speed. And yeah, that was my third attempt, and that was done as well. So at this point, I thought, there is no point taking more lessons, because I knew what I was doing. It was just the nervousness that was, holding me back. So in these previous 3 attempts, I used to, sleep perhaps 4 to 5 hours in the night before. And I was just restless the day before. The exam, I mean. So I used to, go through all these YouTube videos, would, scratch through my computer with all the articles that I can read through. I'll go through all my notes, all my, materials, everything. And then, I'll just make myself tired. And then the next day, with the nervousness in the back of my head, I'll go and, yeah, just perform whatever I had to. But I thought to myself, this time I have to calm myself. And the 4th time, I tried to, keep it to my normal schedule. On the day of the exam also, I woke up, I made my bed, I, had my green tea in the morning as usual, my DITL, let's say. So I tried to calm myself as much as possible. And I did not even take any, additional lessons from the driving school this time. And as usual, on the day of the exam, I did the warm-up class, which is quite standard on the day of your exam. And we went through a route, and yeah, I had done a couple of minor mistakes, but my instructor said, you look good today, and if you continue in this pace, you'll be able to pass it clearly. And then this examiner came, and yeah, he was a comparatively younger guy, somewhere around my age, but the previous three were a bit older. And, that also, I know it's funny, but every little thing adds up. I mean, the examiner's attitude, their personality, everything just adds up. So I felt that relaxedness in my behavior this time around than I did in the first three sessions. Maybe because I, wrapped my head around that I'm not gonna let myself be nervous this time. But yeah, I immediately noticed that change, and we started off with the theory questions. That went quite well, and then we went over to the different driving maneuvers, everything. This time he didn't take me to the autobahn, but we went outside the city. And during any of my driving lessons, I had not driven in, I had driven a couple of times in rain, but it's up to my luck. So in this test, everything started at once. Like there was snow, like heavy snowfall, and then there was rain along with it, and it was so windy. And I was like, why is this happening to me, God? But still, as promised to myself, I kept my calm. And when we went outside the city, there normally you're supposed to drive around 100, but yeah, I told my instructor that I'm aware I have to drive around 100, but due to the weather conditions, I'm keeping at 70, 75. So he was quite okay and appreciated it that I told that out aloud. And also I had this technique of talking it out aloud when I'm doing something. That helps. So that is called commentary driving. You can search it in YouTube also. So that really helped me. And this time, whenever he told me to do some maneuver, I processed it in my head, and then I was doing this commentary driving. And yeah, I was quite relaxed. He asked me to parallel park, and I didn't do it perfectly. I mean, exactly very close to the curb and exactly parallelly, but he was quite okay to let me go, because I was doing everything else quite correctly, and it was not bad. I mean, it was not perfect, but not also really bad, so he let me go. And yeah, after everything, we came back to the point where we started our driving exam. And after everything, he asked me to go out of the car. And I was so ecstatic with completing, everything and then coming back to my original position. I didn't recall what, you normally have to do ideally when you come out of a car, and I didn't look anywhere. I just opened the window and yeah, just planned to go out of the car. And he stopped me. The examiner stopped me and he said, come again, sit, and then again go back. So this time I realized that I'm doing something wrong. And yeah, after a couple of seconds, I mean, can you imagine? It's so simple, but still, with the pressure of performing well, I was not realizing that I had to look in the mirror or in the center mirror, and then check if there is somebody coming from behind, and then open the door. But yeah, luckily I gathered it and then did that well. And yeah, he let me the result sheet that I had passed. So yeah, that was my journey of almost 4.5 months from the theory test till getting my driving license. Yes, not the cakewalk you would expect, but I finally got it. And you will of course have self-doubt, but trust me, it's not about your capability. It's just about performing well in that 45 minutes. So don't be heartbroken. I know it's quite natural, but you're not alone, my friend. 1 in each 3 or 4 person in Germany fail at least once in the driving license test. So yeah, just don't lose your heart. Just stick to it and you'll get through. Also, if it helps, taking some pressure off you, don't share it with anyone. if you feel embarrassed, and that is quite natural. I felt it as well. But yeah, nobody is gonna understand you. Only people who go through this, only they will understand you. So, back in India, it's a cakewalk to get a driving license. So, talking to your people back at home, it's not gonna help. So, if it helps, you can, ask in the German forums how people's experience are, and also watch my video. And I hope this gives you, some courage to, proceed further, because when I had came across certain videos, it certainly gave me some courage that I'm not alone. And also I only know a handful of people who have done it in the single attempt, so that also adds. But yeah, I hope this video will give you some idea. And if you want me to actually do a like theory questions list, or also show you some like tricky practical lesson questions, then do let me know in the comment section, and I'll try to bring that as well. But if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing that. That will encourage me to bring such useful contents for you. But yeah, I'll see you next time real soon with a new video. Till then, take care and bye, and good luck with your driving license.